everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about palm oil, so I'm happy that you wanted to join me. Palm oil is something that I personally try to avoid, especially in processed products. I don't eat a lot of those anyway because they're often heavily packaged. But generally I try to live as palm oil free life as I possibly can, and I have talked about that on several occasions here on this channel. And because of that, a lot of you guys have actually asked me if I wanted to make a video about palm oil specifically and why it's bad and can it be sustainable and just like all the nuances of palm oil production, and there are obviously a lot. So I hope you're going to enjoy this, and hopefully this will make it easier to navigate in all the information about sustainability and palm oil production. Let's go. Palm oil is generally considered to be one of the most utilized ingredients in the world. I think it's in about 50% of all processed foods in the US. It's used in foods, it's used in cosmetics, it's used in biofuels, and 1/3 of the world's supply of vegetable oil is generally considered to be palm oil. So it's an ingredient that we see in a lot of different products, and if you go down to your local supermarkets and turn over different kind of products, you will definitely be able to find palm oil as an ingredient in most of them. And speaking of biofuels, in 2017 it was estimated that 51% of Europe's collected biofuel usage came from palm oil as well. So as far as I could see, the oil palm tree is actually native to West Africa, where it's still produced and used for domestic use as well. But today, 85% of all palm oil used globally comes from either Indonesia or Malaysia. I actually also want to talk about some of the good stuff that comes with palm oil, so here are some of the benefits before we go into all the negative stuff. First of all, palm oil is actually a natural preservative, so it will extend the shelf life of whatever product it's in, which is also why, I guess, or one of the reasons why, that it's in a lot of processed foods. It's known as a high yield crop and is considered one of the cheapest crops to produce. Palm oil is the base of an $88 million industry, and globally it's responsible for over 6 million jobs. 2.2 million of those jobs are small farmers. The palm oil industry also leaves very little of the fruit wasted because both oil, kernel and flesh is used to produce different products. So this is stuff you will typically see on a pro palm oil site, especially like sites that promote palm oil production or that profit from palm oil production. But that does not make these facts untrue, I guess. It just means that there are more to the story than these facts. But it's good to have in mind that there are actually some upsides to this production. But the negatives, and that's why we're here, right? There are a lot of not so good things about palm oil, and I think it's important that the consumers know this, because then we can make conscious and informed decisions. That's way better than making decisions based on what's the cheapest or what's the easiest. So 65 million metric tons of palm oil is produced every single year, and only 17% of that production is considered to be sustainable. Between 2001 and 2010, the palm oil industry released more than 286 million metric tons of carbon dioxide. Two countries which host the primary production of palm oil, being Indonesia and Malaysia, also home to a rich wildlife that we are deeply dependent upon, both flora and fauna, and all of this is deeply in risk of extinction because of the palm oil industry and because of deforestation that makes room for the palm oil industry. From 1999 to 2005, nearly 150,000 endangered orangutans were killed by hunting or by deforestation practices practiced in Malaysia and in Indonesia. When I say deforestation, that means usually burning of forest areas. And burning of forest areas, aka fires, release a lot of air pollution, and the air pollution from deforestation in Indonesia and Malaysia have actually resulted in 12,000 premature deaths. Furthermore, nearly half of these countries' carbon emissions come from deforestation fires due to this practice, due to this industry, due to this product. Also, from a more human perspective, the palm oil industry is deeply affected by corruption and violations of human rights, including abuse and child labor. The industry deliberately bulldozes entire indigenous villages, leaving entire communities absolutely homeless. So that's what we're paying for. So with such a big industry that has such an enormous impact, you would think that there would be some sustainability initiatives or at least some practices in place to make sure it's not as bad as it could possibly be. And you're right, there is actually sustainability initiatives within the industry and industries that try to differ themselves from the main industry by being slightly more sustainable. So let's talk a little bit more about that. In 2004, RSPO was founded. The Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil is a certification system that seeks to integrate sustainable policies into this industry. The RSPO has been named Best Among Standards by WWF when it comes to sustainable palm oil production. However, the policies of the RSPO has also been criticized heavily both by scientists, by journalists, by news platforms. One reason for this criticism is because that they lack to show any results from their policies. It also seems that the RSPO is being criticized by scientists for deliberately formulating very vague policies and very vague goals. Stuff like be more sustainable can be very vague. Also, the foundation has very imprecise criteria for what really describes sustainability, what really describes wildlife, and that can be kind of problematic when you're working with big industries. The RSPO has also been criticized for being corrupted by industrial interests rather than ecological interests. For instance, they've been criticized for protecting companies within their sustainability policies when they do not meet their sustainability goals, like Johnson & Johnson or Kraft Heinz, who also refuse to give insight into their sustainable production or show any results of sustainable initiatives. Another sustainability initiative within the palm oil industry, or actually rather on the opposite side of the palm oil industry, is ads that suggest consumers to just completely boycott palm oil altogether, like the Icelandic ad that ran a couple of years ago. Maybe you remember that one. However, a complete boycott of palm oil can be detrimental in many ways. According to the International Union of Conservation of Nature, a boycott would only displace the destruction of the palm oil industry, putting pressure on other industries and the production of other crops, which require more land and more resources to grow. So how do we fix this problem? First of all, consumers can do so much to make a shift in what products are produced and what products are not, simply by voting with their money. So changing your shopping habits is actually really important. The CEO of the Malaysian Council of Palm Oil actually stated that they are in fact able to make their production more sustainable, but see no reason to, as consumers are still buying their products. Which is an insane thing to say. Like, who does that? But businesses also have responsibility and actually need to act before consumer demand. The industry of palm oil is very untransparent, and it's super difficult for a lot of consumers to know that there is even something wrong. So businesses need to take responsibility and act before it becomes public knowledge, before it becomes something like we all know. Businesses must accept the ecological responsibility before consumer demand. But governments also have responsibility in this problem, because deforestation and setting fires to forests is not illegal in a lot of countries, and these industries take full advantage of that. I also read within the criticism of RSPO that a lot of these areas have kept no tab previously on how many animals are there, what kind of species are there. And because there is no knowledge about it, these industries that promote sustainable production can actually say stuff like, oh, the population of orangutan went up 1,000% because they didn't see what was there before. So they could just assume that all the orangutan in that area came because of their initiatives, you feel? So it's something that can be taken full advantage of, and I think that's such a shame. So governments, politicians, super important. Which is important to you, because you need to vote. Just go and vote now. I don't know if you can, but vote whenever you can vote. And lastly, even though the RSPO is not perfect in any shape or form, it says something that it's still the best alternative to conventionally produced palm oil. So it's like this much better, but it's still improvement. It's still an indicator of someone somewhere behind corruption that actually cares, I guess. And it's still something that you can support if you want to. However, it should be noted that this sustainability certification is used in greenwashing all the time. Someone would even say that like the entire certification is greenwashing. I'll let you decide. As a consumer, it's a good idea to cut down on processed foods, on cosmetics, etc., which ties perfectly together with the zero waste lifestyle because tons of these products are heavily packaged. Win-win. You can also boycott companies that does absolutely nothing for sustainable palm oil production. Not even RSPO nothing, but nothing, like Unilever, who doesn't give a butt. I think it's a little utopic to assume that all consumers will at some point live palm oil free because, as I said in the beginning of the video, there are lots of benefits to palm oil. It's just the way we produce it and the quantities we produce it in. That's the problem. But generally, choosing locally produced products rather than imported ones, rather than processed ones, is a really, really good way to go. Don't knock yourself on the head if you get a product with palm oil in it every once in a while. That's not why we're here, to just feel bad every time we mess up one little bit, but it's about the big picture. It's about generally choosing conscious products and to choosing consciously rather than choosing what's the cheapest or what's the easiest every single day. You feel? It's important also to remember that we as consumers, we have a lot of power and there are tons of industries in place to tell us that that's not the case. But it is. As the CEO from the Malaysian Palm Oil Council said, they produce what the consumers are buying. And if choosing differently in 1 or 2 products a day, and that's all you can do, then you're still doing great, sweetie. If you're interested in any of the sources to the stuff that I said in this video, I have left all my sources down below and you can go and check them out and read for yourself. I also made this into a blog post, so if you want to read all I said, it's basically just a manuscript for this entire video. You can also go and read it instead, because maybe that's an easier way for you to obtain information. So you can go and do that. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave it a thumbs up or a comment down below telling me how you are sustainable in your everyday life and what kind of initiatives that you are supporting or what kind of products you're boycotting. Let me know, I would love to know. If you want to keep tab on what I do here on this channel, then subscribe. I make vegan and zero waste content here on this channel, so go and check that out if you care. See you guys in my next video and take really good care of yourselves. Until next time. Bye! Thank you so much for watching this video, and also a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys help me create green zero waste content and I love you guys. You can find the links to my social media accounts down below and the link to my Patreon on this screen. Bye!